Joining us today is Jayson Tipp, Chief Development Officer at Playa Bowls. Jayson has over 20 years of experience in the hospitality industry, leading teams across brands like Starbucks, Potbelly, Papa Murphy's, Pokeworks, and now Playa Bowls. He's also done so across a variety of verticals, including finance, analytics, IT and technology, marketing, franchise recruitment, the list goes on. And he's coming off a monster year with Playa Bowls that saw them open 75 locations in 2024 and securing commitments to open another 300 locations in the future. It is with great pleasure that we welcome Jayson Tipp to the Menu Mix. Jayson, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Matt. Thanks, George.
Jayson, it's great to have you here. And the context for today is you've just been through, as Matt said, a hell of a year where there's been a tremendous amount of growth. The business has transferred from a founder-led business into private equity. And as we're talking to people in the market, some people think that next year there might be a lot of M&A activity going up. And so we thought you'd be the perfect person to speak to as someone who's recently been through this transition to find out what it's like, what tips you've got for people to share, how you've made it successful so far. And just to start with, as Matt said, huge amount of growth that's just happened and planned. So 10 years to get to 300 locations. And in the next 12 months, you're looking to add another 100. How are you going on reaching your goal right now?
We're doing really well. You know, it's not without effort, and we've been growing really quickly, so that presents its own set of challenges. But we're on track to open 75 this year. We opened 56 last year, which was not quite on plan, but we've been able to have impact this year. And yeah, we're targeting between 75 and 100. You know, I'll feel really good about 90 next year. 100 would be a stretch, and it'd be fantastic to end the year that way. And it's been a 10-year journey from the time that the founders opened. I mean, they basically had a folding table on a street that they started with. So it's pretty impressive over the 10-year period.
It's amazing. And could you take us back to the time before the business was sold and share a bit of insight into what the rationale was for doing it, why now or that time was the right time to do it, and maybe a bit of insight into as far as you're involved in the process leading up to that transaction happening?
Yeah, so we'll go back a little ways. The business was founded by two surfers, Abby Taylor and Rob Giuliani, and they discovered acai and pitaya, which is dragon fruit, while they were traveling the world and surfing, predominantly in South America. And Abby had this inspiration to set up a table. They set it up on the street in front of a pizza shop. It was next door to their condo at Belmar in New Jersey, right across the street from the beach, and started selling acai bowls just because Abby was passionate about it. And Abby and Rob were really, hard. It was basically the next year that they were able to open a shop, and they opened the shop directly behind where they had set up that table. Still, our first shop is across the street from Belmar Beach in New Jersey. And they started growing as most entrepreneurs do, organically. Then they decided they wanted to franchise. And they had a first private equity transaction about now 3 years ago. And those owners came on board, and their specialty, it happens to be a private equity firm that's not focused on any one industry, that what their focus is partnering with entrepreneurs or family-owned businesses that want to plan for an exit. And they look for capitalizing on the value creation between the exit of the entrepreneurial founder or the family owning team, whatever the case is, and selling to the next private equity buyer who then plans to acquire the business and grow it substantially on that kind of more professionalized base. So as we got into 2024, our ability to maintain high average unit volumes, execute on a pretty aggressive growth plan, continue to recruit franchise owners at a rate and pace to support that growth, all created a sense of momentum as we came into this year and through this year to go through the sale process this summer. And we have a new private equity partner as of the end of August when the transaction closed. And our new partners I think are a good match for us. We're really pleased with them. And I think what anybody would want to see, and this is what I tell our franchise owners when they ask me about how the transition has been and whether they should be concerned about it. And it's really positive signs. So they've come on board. They have a long-term focus. They are now engaging with us in knowing what the long-term focus is and the plan for growth is. What do we need to be doing today to ensure that we make it to that destination? So it's a little bit like the analogy of, are you packing your car up to go, take a 30-mile trip to have a picnic, or you packing your car up to make a trip to California, and you got to make sure you have enough resources to make it all the way across country.
That's super insightful. So thank you for that. And it's very interesting what you're saying about the long term versus the kind of short term horizon, and how you as a team with the new owners are already thinking what it could look like years down the line, and putting things in place today to make that a reality. Are you able to share some of the changes that you're looking to bring in now that you think might pay off, way down the line?
Well, sure. Not particularly complicated. We can talk about a variety of different dimensions. We've been talking about our rapid growth. So we're looking at 400 units at the end of next year, give or take. So the question is, over the next 5 years, what's our growth plan? What's the rate and pace of store openings need to be? And working back from that, from a franchise development perspective, if I need, we'll just say, if I need to open 700 shops after this year, over the next 5 years, then I need probably, I'm going to need, our average owner has 3 shops. So how many of those are going to go to existing owners? How many new owners do I need? How many do I need to go out and recruit? How many do I need to recruit next year? How many do I need to open next year? For each one I recruit and I open, I need a complement of resources on the team to work on that, not just in development. Yes, we need folks for franchise recruiting. We'll need folks for real estate and construction, finding places to build shops and building out those shops. But we need to build out our new store opening team, because right now, going from 75 to 100, we need extra resources just to help franchise owners open those shops. Then when those shops get built, if you think about it really this way, between the end of last year and next year, we will have doubled the number of open and operating shops that we have. So we need to build out the operations team to partner with franchise owners and support them on their success. Because the most important thing for us to continue to do is maintain and grow our average unit volume. So stores are opening and staying at that same revenue, but also maintain and expand the profitability. Because the reason we've been successful, a lot of things go into it. We've got a great product. We have a fantastic brand that our founders developed. We have a great community of franchise owners who are all really passionate about our business. But at the end of the day, the key to all of that is strong business, a strong unit economic model that inspires the franchise owners to continue to lean in and makes this a great business. And so, I just talked about the resources that need to support all of the execution, but behind that, there are things like, the point of sale system that gets you to 200 units is not the point of sale system that's going to get you to 1,000 units. So we have to evaluate that. We have not had the host of internal resources. Like, we just hired our first person in the technology department 2 months ago. So we'll have to build out that part of the organization as we build out an enterprise technology stack. You have to think all of these steps ahead. And if you don't start today with a sense of urgency, you risk not being able to achieve those results 3 to 5 years out. I've been in large organizations where it seems like you're getting a lot done, but it's a large organization. So there's a lot of people to support that, and you're there kind of turning the crank every day. This is a very different rate and pace and, stair step. It's a big, big leap.
Yeah, wow. Sounds like Playa Bowls has their work cut out for them over the next couple of years, especially. I mean, both in terms of resources and tech stack. But yeah, that was really insightful. I guess looking back to earlier stage in your growth, as you mentioned, it's kind of hockey stick growth right now, looking to add 1,000 in the next 5 years. But there is a point in time where even adding 10 locations or 20 locations a year was kind of seen as really, really strong growth for the brand. growing really quickly comes with its challenges, especially operationally. So, can you speak to some of those key learnings from the rapid growth thus far and set some of the stories that came from that?
Yeah, a few. I think, and I want to caveat this by saying I'm not trying to when I make these observations, I don't want to make people wrong who were here before me or others who are in the brand today. We give a tremendous amount of credit to our entrepreneurial founders. I've been in the industry a long time. I actually started in store operations as a teenager myself. And you come to the business and you see all of the decisions that the homegrown team that the entrepreneurial founders assembled and the decisions that the entrepreneurial founders made that were not informed by the industry expertise. Some of those decisions, frankly, are brilliant because they made decisions that would have been against the sort of industry wisdom, and they happen to be the things that work best for the brand. But there were lots of decisions that were made just to keep up with the growth. And, there are some I'll talk about in terms of development. So there's been a lot of work done in the last year to kind of implement a new process and some rigor, which has put us in a better position to perform going forward and build the business going forward, but is not without its own challenges in managing the change process with existing owners that, give them their due as well. Franchise owners that were in our system that have been here for 4 or 5 years and actually weren't given the benefit of that kind of support and that kind of process. So we've had to work through a lot of change management. And those are the kinds of things that happen, when you start with one shop and you're just adding a second shop and then, sort of make in all of these decisions in isolation, as opposed to understanding that you're trying to pack your car for a trip to California. So when I joined the team, one of the first things I did was we did an analysis of what we thought the opportunity was to build out the business. Now, our long-term estimate today is that we think this business could be the size in the domestic U.S. market of comparable to Chipotle or Panera. 2,000 plus locations without getting too specific. But we now can look at new markets going forward, whether that's Chicago or Dallas or Houston, which are markets that we opened up this year. And we now have a view to how many shops we want to build in those markets long term and where we want those shops to go.
It sounds like last year you've really implemented a little bit more structure in your role for future growth. Can you, just moving to franchising, could you speak to, I guess, how the growth plans have changed from maybe historical growth to now that there's this almost blueprint? Is it a market by market approach? Are you working with the current set of franchisees that you have already? What seems to be the formula that works for you at Playa?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. So not unlike most startup brands, a lot of startup brands start with kind of that first circle of friends and family that maybe get involved and become your first franchise owners. We have a group of folks like that. And now some of them are, have 10 shops and are continuing to grow and are becoming substantial owners in our system. And I think substantial owners, if any restaurant franchise system was to think about them, really high quality operators of a multi-unit business. We have other folks who are from that group, but are not folks that are leaning in to grow going forward. Then we have kind of a second group, which I would describe as folks who were from the area where the brand was born. They were early customers. They got excited about the brand, never thought they would be franchise owners, but got excited about the brand. And again, many of those have been successful, continue to be successful. And we've increasingly over the last year or two seen some family offices that have had or currently own some other multi-unit businesses come into our system, as well as individual entrepreneurs who have been or are currently franchise owners in other systems, Dunkin' or Crumble or Nothing But Cakes. And those have worked out really well for us. And it's a little bit of a barbell strategy in that we have, if we end this year with 300 shops, more than a third of those are in the New York metro area between northern New Jersey, New York City, and the nearby communities. So most of our growth is out of the Northeast, and we started to have a larger footprint in the Southeast and the South Central, as far over as Phoenix. And we've continued to focus on penetrating those newer markets, those markets where we have less penetration, focused on, as I talked about the market plan, right? We know where we want to put shops in Dallas. Well, we know where we want to infill in Miami. And so we engage the owners in Miami, have a conversation with them about what that end point looks like and how they want to grow. And we're working on the growth plans for every existing owner in our system who wants to grow is being given the opportunity to grow in the market where they're operating. And then we've been growing only on organic inbound leads, people showing up at our website and expressing interest. Just about 2 months ago, we started doing some lead gen advertising, and that's been about identifying owners to help us penetrate those newer markets. So focused on Texas, focused on Chicago, some other Midwest markets where we haven't got a footprint yet. St. Louis would be an example. Kansas City would be an example. Those are kind of the next wave markets as we move from east to west, where we've got an opportunity to penetrate.
So Jayson, that's interesting. On finding your future professional franchisees, it's about what are they looking for in a franchise relationship and what are you looking for? So perhaps you might reflect on today, what do you feel that the professional franchisees are looking for and how might that been different to maybe a few years ago? So have what they're looking for changed? Is there something about the type of business they're looking for or the deal dynamics or the economics that's different? And then secondly, like, what does your ideal professional franchisee look like?
Yeah, I don't think, in my experience, I don't think that what a franchise owner is looking for has changed much. In my experience, particularly in the restaurant business, those multi-unit franchise owners who are out there and that's what they do, that's a big part of their investment and and our operators typically have the box that they operate in. And what I mean by that is you might like a business that has $3 million and average unit volumes and has drive-through, and you don't mind investing $1.5 million in capital to build a freestanding building. Sort of everybody, my experience is people find their formula that works for them. And if that's your formula that works for you, then a box that looks much more like ours or maybe Subway or something else that's a smaller, average unit volume and a smaller box may not work for you. We sit kind of in between that. We have really high volumes relative to the investment required to build the Playa Bowls. So that tends to attract a lot of attention. That the profitability, the theoretical profitability that a franchise owner is able to generate attracts a lot of attention. Our challenge and part of our screening process, because there are a lot of folks out there that have money, we get about 300 to 400 inquiries a month, and we end up signing about 1%. And most of that is because we filter folks out. Some of that filtering is they don't have the qualifications. Some of it is they're interested in a market where we're not franchising to new owners. We're only franchising to existing owners. We have some markets already that we've said that we're not going to add shops to in the short term because we don't want to over-penetrate those markets too fast. But the biggest thing is, and I have two questions I ask everybody when they come in. They go through a franchise recruiting process. They get vetted pretty well, and then they get scheduled for an interview with me. And that interview with me starts with these two questions. Why do you want to be in the restaurant business? And why are you interested in Playa Bowls? And I've been in the restaurant business since I was 16 years old. So I know what that answer looks like. If you're somebody who really wants to be in the restaurant business, I know what that answer looks like because I'm that mentally ill person who thinks that the restaurant business is fantastic and somehow can, get past all the difficulties in it. There are other businesses I wouldn't want to be in because I don't have the passion for them and I can't get past the headaches that they cause. So I understand what that answer should look like. And then the second one is, why do you want to be in Playa Bowls? And we really want to build a great business and a great brand and a great franchise that is going to last a long time. And so we want people who are passionate about the brand, who already get it, that I don't have to explain to them why Playa Bowls is something that they should be interested in doing. I want them to sell me. And if somebody comes in the door And their answer is, well, my family's in the franchise industry and we've run some, take your pick, doesn't matter what it is. And, I just think Playa Bowls is really cool. And, so I thought that would be interesting to do. That doesn't get you very far. My favorite answer, and it's not a rare answer to get, but my favorite answer is a story of one of our franchise owners who now has 5 shops, had been in industrial sales his entire career. He had a daughter who was a competitive lacrosse player, and he would travel to take her to lacrosse tournaments. And they'd be long drives, but they were traveling into New Jersey and into Pennsylvania where there were Playa Bowls shops. And lots of sports teams, particularly for teens and college-age athletes, if they got a Playa Bowls nearby, they figured it out because Playa Bowls has got a lot, some of our bowls have a lot of calories, but the calories are based on fruit. So they get a lot of energy from that. And so that's, if you have that athletic lifestyle, it's a great product for you. So he would be driving home with his wife and daughter. And as a husband who he kind of plays the story out, but his wife and daughter would say, hey, the Playa Bowls is so great and we don't have them in our hometown. Why don't you become a franchise owner? Why don't you look into why we should have Playa Bowls? We should do this. And as he tells it, after a number of conversations like this that wore him down, he looked into Playa Bowls and ultimately became a franchise owner. And he loves the product. But it was that passion, that initial passion of his family for the product that inspired him to look into it and get to know the brand better and invest in it. And he doesn't have his old job anymore. He's a full-time Playa Bowls operator, has 5 locations, and is continuing to grow. And I hear that story over and over again from people coming in interested in Playa Bowls. Some of them, I spoke to 2 people who have had successful exit from other franchise businesses, and they have a lot of capital. They could go do anything they want to do, but they're already passionate about Playa Bowls because of being customers, and their family are passionate about Playa Bowls. And so they want to be in the business. It's not going to be, I even asked them, this is like a rounding error given your net worth. Why are you even interested in doing this? And the answer was, we want to invest in businesses that we love.
That's really cool. Well, anyone who's listening who wants to become a Playa Bowl franchisee, take note. You need to have the passion for it. But yeah, that's a great story. When we were speaking previously, Jayson, you also mentioned something about just like the design of the stores moving forward. You have a little bit of a template. Can you walk through some of the restaurant design and architectural elements and how that has helped you kind of grow and scale so quickly as well?
Yeah, I when we went through the private equity process earlier this year, we got the question universally from everybody sitting across the table from us. Why does Playa Bowls have such high average unit volumes compared to the rest of the category? Why do you think you've been so successful growing so fast? And you kind of want to say, because it's a purple unicorn based on acai, which is purple. But I think there are 3 underlying characteristics that are really key to this. And they drive the outcome of the very attractive unit level economics, which make it all possible. But the first thing is we have a great product. Our product is higher quality than anybody out there that's doing acai bowls and pitaya bowls because of a very particular decision that the founders made, driven by their tastes. They just thought it tasted better. And it's one of those decisions that somebody coming from the industry wouldn't have made because they would have looked at it and they would have said, oh, the product cost is going to be too high. Well, we do have slightly higher product cost as a result of it, but it's one of those things that now franchise owners cling to and they're like, don't change the product. It's part of what makes us a better brand. The second is that the physical manifestation of the brand, which I'll come back to more to answer your question. The physical manifestation of the brand, the look and feel informed by our founders being from the New Jersey beach culture and bringing that, we use the term vibe, bringing that beach vibe in a way that isn't like Disneyland. It's not corny. It feels right. And I'll come back to that. And then the third is that's the passion we have from our owners. I describe our owners, our franchise owners, as being house proud. They get that we have a better product. They're enthusiastic about that. They want to preserve that. They get that our store environment is unique and special, and it communicates something about the brand that is valuable to the consumer. And because they're house proud and enthusiastic about it, that translates to energy and enthusiasm for their teams and the folks that are on the front line serving consumers. And, it's kind of a virtuous cycle, frankly, that all of this stuff kind of creates its own momentum. But back specifically to the physical environment, each space is uniquely painted. So we have a team of artisans. They go to every shop. They complete the custom painting. Some of it is iconic graphics that our team has created that are then hand painted on the walls of shops. Some things are done just uniquely for that shop based on the local neighborhood and what's going on in that neighborhood. And those are the kinds of things that they just, people have a sense of ownership. Customers have a sense of ownership of their Playa Bowls as a result of that. And it creates a lot of energy in the shop of its own. We certainly recognize the difference, and we think consumers, and based on their feedback, they do as well, recognize the difference between going into a Playa Bowls where you have stimulating environment, this environment that is vibrant and creates energy, and the environments of some of our lesser known Superfruit Bowl competitors, where it's just a generic design, right? White walls, white laminate casework. And, we've also, there's a lot of kind of quote unquote modern store designs out there, and it almost doesn't matter what they're selling. They just look exactly the same. You go from one to the other, and what's different is the logo on the wall. You can't walk into a Playa Bowls and not know where you are.
I love this whole concept of the customers feeling like they are an owner of the brand, and the franchisees feeling like they're a custodian of the brand because of the visual design, but also that passion from the founding team. And that works its way right the way through the entire business and out through to customers as well. Jayson, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a very wide-ranging discussion, and it's been fascinating to hear just your insight of the journey you've been on with Playa so far, and drawing on your experience of many, many years in this industry, but also a bit of a flavor of where things are going and what that recipe for success is. And I think that anybody out there that is earlier on in their stage, either within the development function, but also with their brand and their evolution, can take something from this conversation. So I think it's been awesome. I found it something very valuable. Before we go, I have one quick question for you. I know you used to, a long time ago, run or be a part of running a record label. So I'm really curious, how did you get into that, and why did you leave to go back into the restaurant space?
So I never left. I never left either. Let's put it that way. So I've been a musician, like lots of us, since I was a kid. I started in school band, and I played lots of different instruments. And it's always been a strong part of who I am as a human being. And I made a decision in college and after college that I didn't have the confidence that I could make a living as a musician. So I pursued a different professional career, different day job. And for most of my life, so far in my life, people have been willing to pay me a lot more money to do what I do in my day job than I've been able to earn being a musician. But I'm still a professional musician. I play contemporary jazz. I have 6 albums released with a contemporary jazz group that I was the leader of for 30 years. And last year released my first solo album, and have had very appreciative of the success I've had over the last year. And it hasn't eclipsed what I've been able to earn in my day job doing what I'm doing for Playa Bowls, but it feeds my soul, and I've made a few dollars.
That's great. That's great to hear. You'd have seen maybe the head of a guitar in the background there. I haven't quite turned it into a paid gig just yet, but we'll see. We'll see as the years roll on, maybe. Well, Jayson, thanks again. For everyone listening, this was Jayson Tipp, hospitality industry thought leader and chief development officer at Playa Bowls. If you want to learn more about Playa Bowls, you can find them on Instagram, TikTok, and X, just using @Playa Bowls. And you can follow Jayson on LinkedIn. He's regularly posting about everything that's going on at the company and their growth. And given what you've heard today, there should be a lot of exciting posts coming up over the next 12 months and beyond. So Jayson, thank you so much for being a part of the show today.
Thank you both. I appreciate it.